Hey guys, and welcome back to Amnesia Memories. Today we are going to look at Ikki's short story. I'm hoping that it'll be really great. So let's get into it. Okay. To others and myself, it was a scene of reminiscent of a romantic film. Faded in color, the afternoon felt nostalgically sentimental. In the seat across from me, a girl with long hair tied up in complicated knots was sipping coffee through a straw. I was accustomed to parting with girls at this point, and the situation was no different. The coffee here is delicious, isn't it? Casually prompting her to drink, I looked softly at her face. You're welcome here anytime. Yes. She gave me a watery smile, and I looked down at her coffee, giving it all of her attention as if to hold back tears. As she sipped, the nearly empty glass made a clinking noise from the settling ice. Embarrassed by the sound, her cheeks turned red, and I truly found it adorable. Despite that, there was no question in my mind that we would part. I did not have romantic feelings for her, though there was no question of her infatuation with me. Until today, we had experienced no problems in our relationship. From a bystander's view, it was surely a strange story. Furthermore, there are many others who wish to have a relationship with me, so to be bound to one person would be unfair. That was the reason I gave her. Even I think it's a selfish idea. But there has never been a girl who has objected to my selfish reasoning. And so the cycle has continued, starting again every 3 months. The confession, the companionship, and the breakup. There was no room for any change of my feelings on my part. There were times when they would leave with a smile and times when they would cry. However, everything on my end was exactly the same each time. I spoke to her sympathetically. I suppose we should leave soon. Gently, I pulled the reluctant girl up onto her feet. I'll wait for you. She pulled out her purse, but refused. Moments later, we stepped outside into the busy street. Amidst the sound of vehicles passing by outside the cafe, I smiled at her. I'll see you again. Take care. I was kind, but definitive in saying those words, meaning we would no longer be in a special relationship the next time we meet. She managed to force her trembling lips into a semblance of a smile. Yes, goodbye. Take care. I pushed back the dull pain I felt in my heart into the depths of my stomach. I couldn't say that I was lonely. It wasn't a word I was allowed. I was the one ending the relationship for my own convenience. A thought in my head resonated faintly, that I wasn't doing this because I wanted to. What an excuse. No matter my circumstances, I was the one who decided to take this path, and I was the one hurting her now. So the details of my circumstances were nothing but excuses. What more? Somewhere within my true feelings, I was even blaming her. You say that you like me, but you have nothing to say about us separating? You have no objections at all? I admonished her with unreasonable criticism in my mind, even though I was the one breaking up with her for my own benefit. It was impossible for me to utter such things. Thank you very much. It was fun. Going out with a girl was, for the most part, genuinely fun. It became my preferred pastime to flirt, and I found all the sweet girls I could ensnare to be perfectly lovable. With as many variations of girls that existed in the world, I was fortunate to be able to try them all. However, for one moment, every 3 months, everything had to become difficult. I had fun as well. Goodbye. Having delivered the words by force of habit, I left the scene without another glance at her teary, crumbling expression. I gave her even less sympathy than I should have. I had done more than necessary during our time together to make sure I left no regrets. As it ended, I let her go as swiftly and calmly as possible, and thus it was over. After this end, another beginning would come. It seemed that one day of this, out of a happy 3 months, was unavoidable. Moreover, the recurring situation I found myself in was common knowledge now. There was always another girl who came to confess to me a day or two after a breakup. It wasn't as if I didn't care who approached me, but I am able to find most girls cute in their own way. To be honest, I consider it one of my greater strengths. I really like you, Ikki. The girl in front of me looked up with a face full of nervousness. As expected, I found her terribly charming. Her face was as normal as any young lady's, but it was the way she gripped her skirt that I loved. Her name was Taiko, if I recalled correctly, if I'm saying that correctly. I saw no problem in dating her. I could have a lot of fun teasing her, flirting with her, and so much more. Just like with so many other girls. Until the last day of those 3 months. I heard a voice from somewhere else, just as I was about to reply. Taiko turned to look, startled. The person who stood at the other end of that gaze was a junior of mine from the place where I worked part-time. I'm sorry. Edging backward, she looked distressed as she tried to leave the scene. I'm interrupting something, aren't I? I'll leave. I remembered so vaguely that this was the path that she used to walk back home after work. She was a rare girl, one on whom my eyes had no effect. I found it refreshing and interesting to talk with her. If she had asked me on a date, I would have kicked all others to the curb just to comply. That was how fond I was of her. But far from confessing any feelings, I was clearly aware she didn't like me, a fact which I found ironic. I was sure, after witnessing such a scene, her impression of me being a playboy had grown even stronger. When I thought of this, suddenly everything else became so bothersome. We were in the middle of something, but don't worry. You needn't mind us. We'll be finished soon. Thinking I might be rejecting her, Taiko's shoulders started to tremble. Let's see, Taiko, was it? Oops. If I may be frank with you, you mean that you would like to date me, right? Taiko hurriedly nodded. Yes. When I date someone, I try to go as far as possibly can with that girl. That is what I will think of our relationship. Knowing this, is it still all right with you? I always make it clear from the start. There's no possibility that I could develop stronger feelings for you. I will not even put in the slightest effort to try. Even then, I ask, will they be fine with this? I am currently single, so if you can truly accept these conditions, I wouldn't mind dating you at all. It was only a for a brief moment that Taiko showed any hesitation. Of course. It's all right. That's more than enough. It would be like a dream. Is that so? This was usually how the conversation went. Afterwards, I would discuss with her the specifics in detail. We would exchange contact information, and it would be decided. A new 3 months would begin. It was a beginning with a predetermined end. Even though I knew I was beyond feeling any misery at this point, I couldn't help but wonder if the reason I felt so wistful was because Taiko was a bit my type. I'd rather like the girl I had just parted with, though. Perhaps they both were. After I settled the routine details with Taiko, with a clouded mind, I bid her farewell. My junior, who had been quietly observing the conversation, finally spoke to me in a trembling voice. "You're the worst." I blinked, somewhat caught off guard. I think that's the first time someone has said that to me. No one's ever said that to you? She glared at me, her previously dazed expression suddenly turning into one full of anger. If no one's ever told you, then I will. What you're doing is simply awful. You should be more aware of other people's feelings. Maybe you've never actually fallen in love with someone, but you can't imagine for a second what that's like. If you fell in love with someone and gathered enough courage to confess, you were then given a response that you just gave now. Can't you see? Can't you tell how horrible that is? Her voice disappeared into the air. If I fell in love with someone, if I was given the response I gave a moment ago, I had never given thought of such an idea. Having been confronted so suddenly, I allowed myself to imagine it. To imagine myself falling in love with someone was quite difficult. So instead, I thought of it from the outside, observing my furious junior. The vision of her loving someone, gripping the fabric of her skirt and confessing, "I love you." Then the vision of her being responded to with, "I will go as far as I can with you." How would she react? Would she love that man enough to think that was all right? Would that man really take advantage of her innocence, of her pure feelings? God, I wanted to punch that man. As the thought faded away from my mind, I exhaled. You're right. That really is the worst. Right? It's so terrible. I wonder why no one said this to me before. There really is no excuse. Right? The reason no one had said this to me before, I knew fully well. It was because anyone who looked into my eyes lost all motivation to condemn me. This was the world that I lived in. A world where everyone supported me. A world where, even when I've done nothing, I'm praised. I'm given respect, and I don't receive the reproach and discussion that should be owed to me. A world where the only one who could control me was myself. No matter how hard I worked, it went unacknowledged. Because the flow of adoration was constant, there was no way of knowing whether a person truly recognized me. There was no opportunity for anyone to reproach me for a lack of effort. Those who did hate me and keep their distance would not go out of their way to denounce me. There were only a handful of people who would point out my flaws. She was one of those people. I really am the worst. You're right. It's exactly as you say. After laughing it off and readjusting the view of my own actions, I felt more and more deplorable. Even though then I thought, I have been trying to show that I cared about my partners through my actions. But such an excuse was weak when, on the heels of the abuse I had directed at Taiko in my frustration. I hope that you understand now. Why wasn't it she that confessed to me? It was a foolish thought to have, after having just accepted another girl's confession. If this girl were to confess to me, I would treasure her with all I had. I would fix all the flaws she brought up to me. I would die rather than do something she didn't like. I would probably become the ideal partner. But such a thing was impossible. She would never fall in love with a man who would handle a girl's heart in such a harsh manner. I'm sorry for being so rude just now. Not at all. I was truly the one at fault. I apologize for this unpleasant experience. It's okay. Well, I'll be leaving. Of course. Goodbye. As I bid her farewell, I felt the same painful reluctance that I usually felt when breaking up with a girl after 3 months. I pushed down the urge to run after her and ask her if she would be my girlfriend. The urge only subsided after I could no longer see her retreating figure. Ah, that's right. I'm Taiko's boyfriend now. Remembering the person that I had just now become my girlfriend, I took out my cell phone out of my pocket. Once I learned that I was in the wrong, all I could do was appreciate what I had at the moment. To ignore the confession I had just accepted and pine after another girl would make it difficult for her to ever like me. After 3 rings, I heard Taiko's voice, which already sounded nostalgic to me. I wanted to apologize about just now. You see, I want to take back that response I just gave. Why? Did I do something wrong? At Taiko's panicked words, I couldn't help but smile. It's alright. I find her cute. I can care for her. No. That's not what I meant. I don't want to take back the idea of us dating. I want to take back what I said about trying to go as far as I can with you. I won't let myself think that way anymore. I'm not sure how much I can do exactly, but from this point forward, I do want to treat you properly. What? Taiko fell silent from the other end of the phone. Was it my imagination that she was even more surprised now than when I said such selfish things to her earlier? Well, for reasons of my own, I cannot take back the 3-month limit. The reason? Right. I should explain that as well. When are you free? Let's have a long talk. I want to learn more about you two. This was the beginning. I don't know where the road will lead from here. My heart might wear down from the 3-month cycle. And I may have become too familiar with selfish relationships to the point that perhaps I wouldn't be able to care for her properly. Yet I wanted to become someone whom that girl would not despise. I would begin here first. I ended the call and returned my cell phone to my pocket, gazing regretfully in the decision she had left, and looked up to the sky. The spring sky was tinged a sweet violet blue, a sky I had seen time and time again, yet today I cherished it. I felt that this faded world was suddenly becoming more colorful. And that was Ikki's story. that was good. Leave it alone. Well, that was really good. So we witnessed him breaking up with the girl, and then we witnessed him in the act of going out or beginning a new relationship with another girl. Oh my goodness. Funny that our character had to witness all that and think of him less than she already did. And somehow they were able to be together. But yeah. Well, that's another one down. 3 more to go. I wonder how Thomas is going to be. I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure Uki's is going to be very tragic. Oh, I don't know if I can handle that. But yeah, anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.